Moment, I will call this meeting to order, and we will be going into closed session and then come back. I'm sorry. Go right ahead, young
Yes.
lady.
Okay. Trustee Hack,
I'm here.
Trustee Lathan,
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Present.
Vice President Rocha,
Here.
President Hernandez.
Okay, now I can say that. Now we'll close the session for now. Go into closed session, we'll come back and open at 7, hopefully on time. Okay.
All right, I'll call us to open session at 7 p.m. Maya, can you establish the quorum?
Yes. Trustee Hack,
I be here.
Trustee Lathan,
Here.
Trustee Lewis,
Present.
Vice President Rocha,
Here.
President Hernandez.
Here. Reports, then moving on to reports from closed session, there's nothing to report. Moving on to C, flag salute. Trustee Hack, would you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item D, approval of board minutes for the regular Board of Education meeting of October 30th, 2024. Unless there's any changes or discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I move approval.
Second.
Great, so it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and the motion passes. Moving on to 4, recognition. So we have some really special recognitions today. I don't know if you want to start us off, Dr. Martinez?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, again, it's the ending of an election season. And when that happens, sometimes we do have a change in our process of the leadership of the trustees. And so at this time, this is the last formalized meeting that we know of at this point for both Gary Hack, our longtime serving board member. Gary was brought to the board, I believe, in 2016, and he has served as president for 3 of those years during that time. And again, as a longtime teacher of the district and I believe AEA president at one point, he has brought tremendous years of service to the district, and we're very grateful for his time on the board, for the work that he's done for children of this community. And we will be presenting him with his picture that has been hanging on the hall for some time in salute. And if I could do the second person, and then we'll recognize both of them together and see if they have words they'd like to share. We're also recognizing Dr. Clyde Lewis. Dr. Lewis was brought to the board in December of 2020. He served as president one time and as vice president for one time, and again has made a focus working to expand opportunities for many of our students in relation to their technical skills, career and technical, having opportunities to grow. It was a difficult time during the pandemic, but again, service to the district for one of our children is service to the district for all of our children. And we thank you both for your tremendous leadership. We'll also be presenting Dr. Lewis with his portrait. And we'd like to all thank you and appreciate your service to the board. And let's see, this is Gary's portrait. Would you like to carry Gary to?
I was going to say I can carry it to him.
Gary.
Did I have hair?
Can you get by? There. I'll be
And
better.
so the chairs up here. Thank you.
They're hard to.
And then, of course, Dr. Lewis. Nobody, there we go.
Good. There you go.
So again, turn it over to the board president or to,
Yeah, maybe, would you prefer if we said some words first and then you said close us off, or do you want to start us off and maybe we close you off?
Either way.
Well, I guess I'll start us off and then I'll turn over to Trustee Lathan or Vice President Roach if they want to say, and then we'll let you two close it out. Because I just want to say, the job of a school board member is a tough job. It's a job that has a lot of hours behind it that people don't often see. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of work put in. There's a lot of care put in. I think we're all very much united in the fact that we do care about students. I truly do believe that. I think, we may have lots of disagreements up here. We may have lots of different ideas on how we best serve our students, but I do think that we do ultimately want what's best for students. And if there's one thing that I think I respect more than anything about about, both of these people up here. It's that, they're up here doing the work. It's really easy to, Monday night quarterback, to, criticize, to praise, to say all these different things, but it really does take a special extra step of leadership to step into the arena and try to do what's best for students. So I appreciate you being up here. I appreciate all the years you've given to the school district, to our students here. I appreciate the ideas you've brought forward, the perspective that you bring. I hope that you continue to share that with the community. As you continue on, you're still part of this community, and you'll always be part of this community. Yeah. I don't know, Vice President Rocha or Trustee Lathan, do you want to have anything to say?
Go ahead. Okay, I was just going to say, one of the things that I find amazing is your knowledge. And I've always said to him, he should be a professor. He should be at college level, He just has that ability and knowledge. And I look forward to the ROTC because you brought it forward, and I think that's a wonderful thing for our district in the future. That's something that's still holding. We've been at it for a couple of years or so, but we're going to get there eventually. So I admire you, and I thank you very much. It's nice to get to know your fellow person because we come together. We don't know each other, except I knew him over there because he was actually a teacher in my Sutter school where my son was going. But this one was the new one, and I'm happy to have known you and to be with you, and I don't want to lose track of you.
Absolutely. I'll still bother you.
Thank you. And then Gary over there, oh my God, we go back so many years. Now, you probably don't know, but he's my deacon at my church. So he has so many hats that he wears, but he has that one too. And so I get to see him at church, and he's down the street not far from where I go. And I guess we've been together at Sutter School for so long when he was a teacher, and it's just one of those things that we build a relationship, and we don't have to say much to each other because we already know. Right. Thank you very much, Gary.
Okay.
And I just want to thank you all, both Trustee Hack and Trustee Dr. Lewis, for your work. It is not easy work at all, but it's good work. And I really hope that you both have some really good time off and that you can enjoy, in other ways, service to our students. So thank you.
Maybe I'll turn it to Trustee Hack, whether you want to go first or second.
I'll do it. What the heck? I actually, it surprises me how time goes by. I came to Antioch when I was in my mid-20s. I had hair and a beard. And I moved to this brand new elementary school called Sutter. And that's where I spent a lot of my life. I just love teaching. I love that age of kids and what you do. And Mary is one of the first parents I ever ran into. Not that I knew I'd know her this long, but it was just this experience. And I did union stuff, I did bargaining stuff, I got into all that stuff. But the reality is just the kids. And I still love going to activities at schools and seeing the kids do spelling bees or play football or do whatever they do. And I said, education, fantastic. And I'm just lucky to have been in that situation for so many years. So, okay, cool. Your turn.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right. Thank you. I have a prepared speech because I'm kind of a nerd that way. So good evening, everyone. This is my final school board meeting. I wanted to take a moment to reflect on my time in this community. When I first ran for this position 8 years ago, I didn't win my first time, but 8 years ago, I did so with the goal of being a voice for students, teachers, staff, and families. I wanted to ensure our schools had the resources and support they needed to provide an excellent education for all. Looking back, I'm proud to say that we made strides in achieving that vision. Together, we've increased funding for classroom supplies, upgraded technology, and expanded mental health resources for students. Although we did not complete all of these tasks, and recognizing that there's still more work to be done, we have made strides. We've also worked hard to strengthen relationships with our teachers union, school site staff, and administration, recognizing that a collaborative approach benefits everyone. Most importantly, we've kept students at the center of every decision. Their success has been and will always be the driving force behind the work we do. As a final gesture, I'm honored to be in a position to offer a few final scholarships. During my tenure on the board, I've silently been awarding monies to a host of causes and as I will no longer be a trustee, I would like to ask the board if it would be appropriate for me to offer one final round of scholarships. As I mentioned in the past, I lost a close personal friend in my senior year of high school. This friend had everything needed to make it. He was smart and had interpersonal skills and ambition. He did not get the chance to receive this type of scholarship, so I'd like to honor his legacy by supporting a young person whose teachers believe they would use these funds as a springboard for a bright future. This scholarship is aimed to honor Tracy Kareem Smith. While I recognize these funds will not eliminate all college costs, I hope they can help. Also, during my board tenure, I lost my mother. Sorry. I would like the second scholarship to be in her honor. Oh, man, damn it. Okay, I got it. She worked tirelessly as a campus security during her career, in addition to all the effort she put into raising my siblings and I. So to honor her legacy, damn it.
Drink some water.
Yeah, get it together. I would like to provide a small scholarship to our hardworking staff. Lastly, I would like to provide a scholarship to our hardworking teachers who aid in the development of our young people, which is noble beyond words. In sum, the scholarship breakdown will be 2 $200 scholarships for graduating seniors, one $100 scholarship for an outstanding teacher, and one $100 scholarship for a deserving member of our school site staff. These scholarships are a way to recognize the incredible contributions of our students, educators, and support staff. They're a lifeblood of our district, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to serve alongside all of you. I will follow up with the appropriate parties, most likely Maya, to get these scholarships out toward the end of the school year. Thank you for your tireless efforts on behalf of Antioch Youth. I know the district will continue to thrive under the leadership of the board. It has been a privilege to be a part of this journey, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds. God bless Antioch Unified School District, and may we continue to shape the next generation of leaders. Thank you.
Thank you again to both of you for all that you've done for the school district. Moving on next to superintendent reports. I will turn it over to Dr. Martinez.
Great. Thank you so much, President Hernandez. Just several events last week that I wanted to mention. We had the first of the 3 Boys in Action events was held at Black Diamond Middle School. We had 2 high school selection nights, which occurred where students were provided information about our high schools. We had an opening soccer game for unified sports. So this is a new tradition that we're starting where our students get to play together in a unified process. Of course, we had the Big Little Game. It was senior night for Antioch High School, and we had over 45 adults in support of a positive evening event for our scholars, athletes, fans, and school community. Special thanks goes out to the Antioch Police Department, Pittsburgh Police Department, and our classified staff for the great service during the entire game. Got everybody home safely, as we know. As we close down this week, there will be several schools holding Ruby Bridges walks, I believe. And at M&O Grant, Brenda Howell, one of our teachers, stated this annual event provides an opportunity for our school community to reflect on Ruby Bridges' profound contributions to civil rights. On this day, students will engage in discussions and explore various forms of activism aimed at addressing racism and bullying. They will learn about Ruby Bridges' courageous role in history and participate in group dialogues about how they can bring positive change to our community. On a somber note, I will share again about the passing of one of our principals, Phyllis James. Phyllis was principal at Black Diamond Middle School. She retired at the end of the 2022-23 school year. I actually had the privilege of working with Phyllis as we were budding administrators in the Fairfield-Sassoon Unified School District a number of years ago. You could always feel the warmth of her smile, the grace in her spirit, and I know that many people were positively touched by her life in the district, and so we remember her fondly. And so that's our report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to 7, public comments. 7A, individuals. Oops, you're right. I totally skipped over that. So sorry. Our grade student here. 6, school reports from our high school student representatives from Deer Valley High School.
Good evening, Board of Education and members of the community. My name is Emlyn Miller, and I am the ASB president of Deer Valley High School. Tonight, I'll be sharing some updates from our school year. To start with student activities, we started the year off with our Wolverine Welcome Day. This day is dedicated to building community on campus on the very first day of school. Students learned how to become involved in activities and athletics on campus, viewed various students' performances during our rally, and participated in a field day on our brand new football field. Students and staff both loved this reimagined first day of school, and we invite you all to attend next year's event as well. We also held our homecoming week in September that included a rally, house decorations, our very first homecoming car show, and our homecoming football game. We ended the week's festivities with our homecoming dance that Saturday, where almost a third of our student body attended. It was an eventful week on campus that showcased our teal and black pride. I'd like to personally thank those individuals here today that came by our campus to judge our house decorations during our homecoming week. We are looking forward to our combined winter ball with Antioch High and Dozier Libby, held on Friday, December 13th at the Antioch Community Center. Our theme for our first AUSD winter ball is Snowy Nights. If any board members would like to attend, bring your dancing shoes. And now for student achievement. Our first semester is coming to a close in 4 weeks, which means finals weeks is approaching fast. DV's Link Crew will be hosting a Cocoa and Cram study session for our freshman class in our newly renovated cafeteria to help them prepare for their first set of finals. DV's leadership will also host a Cocoa and Cram the next day that is open for all grades. Students can stop by and enjoy free hot chocolate as they study with their classmates. Student tutors and teachers will be available for help as well during both sessions. We're always looking for additional help. I hope you guys can stop by after school as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any comments or questions from my colleagues?
I want to come. I'll bring my shoes. I
Bring your
can dance.
dancing shoe, yeah.
So you have your dancing feet.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing about what's going on at Deer Valley High School. Great. So moving on then now to public comments. So 7A, individuals to address the board regarding items not on the agenda from the public. We have Velma Wilson.
Good evening, Board. First, I do want to acknowledge, and I promised that I would do this. Thank you for doing it, but I have to stay true to what Phyllis wanted. She is free. She is no longer in pain. She died very peacefully, surrounded by her family. I had the opportunity to say my farewells and my goodbyes to a piece of what makes me Velma Wilson. So many of you didn't know how close me and Phyllis really were. But to watch her decline and to watch her still smile, and every time I walked into either the hospital or to her home, she would hear my voice and she would smile. She would say, "Hey, you." So I had an opportunity in which I want to formally announce her celebration of life will be Tuesday, November 26th at United Methodist Church in Fairfield. Please come, share your love and admiration for an amazing principal. So much that this district really didn't know what they had in her. Truly, I can recall her last day she served. She wanted to make sure she did her speech for her 8th grade promotion. She was so sick. She barely was walking, but she did it. She accomplished it, as much as I fussed at her the whole time. But she did it, and that's the perseverance that will get us all through, despite our differences, despite what we may see that we don't see eye to eye. This is about our children, and she loves students. So I honor Phyllis on behalf of her family, her husband. We are broken. She prepared us for this day, and we both said, we weren't prepared, Velma. He told me, he said, I'm not prepared. But she's free. World Kindness Day is today. Let us remember kindness. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration is coming up January 20th. Students, teachers, staff, everyone, please join me as we honor the legacy of Dr. King. The mission is possible, protecting our freedom, justice, and democracy.
Thank you. Next, we have 7B, individuals to address the board regarding items not on the agenda from district employees. We have Laura Boet.
Good evening, Board. My name is Laura Boet, and I am a TK teacher at Fremont Elementary. I wanted to discuss some of the issues our TK and kindergarten classes face on a daily basis. Fremont only has 2 kindergarten classrooms that are large enough to accommodate the 2 TK and 3 kindergarten programs at the school. Fremont added a second TK this school year, and that class is in a portable that is undersized for TK and does not have running water or restrooms. A real issue for young students. The 3rd kindergarten class does not have restrooms. The only restrooms for this kinder class is the option of either using 2 single-stall restrooms across the hall that is shared with 1st grade and any students using the primary playground, or sharing the restrooms with TK, which happens to be my room. There is 1 TK class and 1 kinder class located across the campus from the original kinder classrooms and playground. Transitioning 4- and 5-year-olds to the front of the school is challenging enough at dismissal time, yet alone trying to move them from one side of the school to the other twice each day. What I'm trying to say is the school was never designed for the needs of young children. There is not a parking lot nor a drive-through for parents to pick up students. The street is just a few feet from the actual entrance to the school, which sets up an unsafe release for young students. Parents double park when waiting to pick up their children, and also cars that race up and down the street on a daily basis. These are just some of the reasons on how important it is to rebuild Fremont as soon as possible. Please consider some of the issues we face on a daily basis when you make any decisions when it comes to the urgency of completing the rebuild of Fremont in the most timely manner possible. Our students really deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have 8 district reports. We have item A, the reading program update.
I'd like to welcome up to the podium one of our administrators in educational services, Deborah Malin, who will provide our update on our literacy efforts.
Brought all my school books. Good.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, board trustees, dignitaries, all of our community who's here. We are excited to bring you a follow-up information from last year, as well as being able to showcase some of the wonderful work that is actually happening within our schools in elementary literacy here in Antioch Unified. So we have a PowerPoint here. We're just going to go through it, and I will share some items with you in case you have questions or just so you have a reference for them. All right, this is one of our, I just took this picture right here today, actually. We were at Fremont, and it was a wonderful visit. And this is one of our students who is working with one of our magnetic boards for our UFly program. All right, on. Technology and I aren't friends. Oh, there it went. Oh, okay. I think we got it now. All right, go ahead. You want to play the game? You can play it. Okay. As you know, our mission, we have worked hard to get our mission out for Antioch to ensure that our scholars learn at grade level or above. Of course, that involves literacy, both reading and writing, speaking and listening, and it has been a focal point for us to work on foundational reading. Starting last year was really the main beginning of it, but we have worked tirelessly to get a better understanding. I just brought back this slide to kind of be a review from last year when we were talking through the simple view of reading and my favorite equation of all time, which is the idea of word reading times listening comprehension equals what we're after, which is reading comprehension, and that you have to have both sides of those going on, the word reading and how to decode and encode words, and listening comprehension, bringing in vocabulary, bringing in syntax, bringing in background knowledge, all of those things. Without both, it is a multiplier, so if you are not good at one, but really good at the other, you're still going to end up at a 0, which is not getting us to what we want in reading comprehension. So we have to work on both sides of the equation. I did bring this back too. This is what we told you we were going to be rolling out for this school year. And we have rolled this out. So we are working, this is the word reading side of the equation, the phonological awareness, and our UFly program. That looks like this, and it's very easy for our teachers to use. And I will tell you, our students, it's K and 1, and then second grade uses it as intervention. Probably one of their favorite parts of the day. And if you want these, I'm happy to pass them around. The second part that we're talking about is phonics. And the phonics is, we're using the UFly, which is the University of Florida Literacy Institute. And this is the book that we're able to use for K1 and 2. It's the same manual. You just do different parts of it depending on the grade, but there's a continuum. Phonics and our secret stories, and I'll show you those in just a moment. And then also our work on high-frequency words, making sure that our students know about, it's really 109, I believe, but about the 100 most common words. If we know those, many of which aren't decodable, we're able to read. So there's the there's the Haggerty and UFly and secret stories. All of these are in implementation right now at all of our schools, K through 2. Quick reminder that phonological awareness is something you can do with your eyes closed. It's the oral manipulation of sounds, such as what rhymes with cat. You don't have to know any of those letters. We can do it all orally. Or what are the sounds in bat, b, at. All of that can be done with your eyes closed, and that's what we work on, called phonological awareness or phonemic awareness with Haggerty. Decoding and encoding, which are both part of phonics. Decoding means reading, and encoding means writing, and we're really starting to understand the importance of writing and being able to go backwards and forwards. We actually have to know what that letter is, what sound it makes, blend it all together. And to do that, of course, you must have your eyes open. That is when we're working with this UFly program. We have lots of resources that go with it, and I will show you a couple right now. So the wall right here, this would be for our secret stories, and our secret stories are when you take two letters, put them together, and they make a new sound. Like PH. Doesn't say paha, it says f. So these are ways that we are helping our children to have little stories that go with it, and I'd like to share a couple of those. every one of our K through 2 students, usually looks a little better, but evidently my stuff moved it around a little bit. We have these magnetic boards for every single one of our students in all of our schools. Just pretend it's better, okay? Okay. They do stick. They look like this. They look like this. So even when we are doing things, they came in a bag. Every student had every teacher got 30 of these and then 30 bags that go with them. We provided the mat underneath for organization. It looks a little better when the kids do it. But this is where we're able to manipulate. And when the teacher uses the manual and says the word cat, students bring the C down and say at. I was going to make you practice, but decided not to do that to you tonight. And then let's change the word cat to can, and they remove the T, and they change it with an N. And all of that is provided right here in the book, kindergarten through 2nd grade, with the progression that happens. In addition, secret stories is what we were talking about before. It's about letters are just squiggly lines or straight lines, and it's not until we can put something and attach something to them that it kind of helps us to remember them. So these are all the secret stories. This one is T and H. They should never be together. They're just trouble when they're together, and every time they're together, they stick out their tongue and say, oops, no bubbling. And so the students learn the stories. The next one is S and H. They're the most studious letters in the whole alphabet. They love being in the library. But all the other letters, not so studious. And so every time S and H are together, they say, shh. And I'll just give you one more, but we could go all night. O and I and O and Y, they are crazy. And when they're together, they just boing everywhere and go, oi, 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 oi. And they bounce around the room going, oi, oi, oi. You want one more? They're really fun. We got O and W and O and U. When they're together, they hit each other all the time. All the time they hit each other. They can't stop it. And they say, ow, ow, but they keep going unless they're the superhero. Because the superhero of OW comes in and says, oh, no, no, no. Sometimes you also say O because he's in disguise and he says O instead of ah. So exciting. All of that helps with our phonics so that we can understand our letters, put our letters together, break them apart. And this book is loaded with ideas on how to utilize said secret stories. Okay. All right, next one. Am I clicking? Okay. I did want to bring one more thing back. I wanted to showcase, this is also something that we are getting in the entire district for our 3rd grade. Every 3rd grade class in our whole district gets this. It's a beautiful magazine. All kinds of fiction, nonfiction, all kinds of fun things, all kinds of educational things. In the middle is a parent section. It's 4 pages long in English and Spanish. It is a grant that is given to us from the Lesher Foundation. Kids Scoop has worked with us in Antioch and has really enjoyed the feedback that they get. Our 3rd grade teachers are excellent at using it as a tool and then sending it home with their families to be able to be enjoyed. All right. So in order for us to meet our goals of having our students be at grade level, we really must focus on what's most important. During both our universal support, which we have referred to as Tier 1 for some times, and we're in the transition of making sure we understand Tier 1 is universal support, and supplemental support, which we've thought of as Tier 2 for a long time. To do that, we have provided and we have invested in the most important resource we have, which is our human resources. New to kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers, even if you were an experienced teacher but hadn't taught K through 3, are in the process of doing a 3-day class where they have substitutes that come. We've paid for it, centrally located, and we're so lucky to have Kim Tran and Flo Uno, who are part of CRLP, the California Reading and Literature Project, who do our training for us. So shout out to Sutter and to Kim and Flo for helping us with that. We brought 25 of our new teachers to K through 2 together so that they could really get the foundations on the literacy framework and assessments and instruction. And most of that work was done by John Scheffelbein. And that's where the basis of California Reading and Literature Project comes from. Little gold star for the teachers. This is what we said we were going to do last year to get ready for UFly. And in the spring of last year, we did do the implementation overview and the UFly slide deck. And in August, we did professional development around day 1 and day 2 of actual implementation. And before we went out, before staff development day, November 1st, everyone has completed the progress monitoring and differentiation, which happens on Fridays. So you teach for 4 days, and then you check to see what they have, so we can use that in our smaller group time to know what might be needed. And that got accomplished. We also have a pacing guide, one for kindergarten, first and second grade. We put it out for every single grade level so that we could keep on a pace that gets us through the standards that go with the grades. It looks like this. Also, and it's done by grade level. We're taking input right now to see what adjustments we might need to do. We are trying to use it to fidelity because it's real hard to kind of do a pick and choose when you're trying to figure out a program. I do know that our kindergartners, teachers have asked that maybe we could start a tad bit later, and there are some lessons that really aren't kindergarten at the end, so we could make some adjustments. So we're looking at that. But we also last week asked all of our administrators to do kind of a little audit to see where we were on the pacing guide. So here's some data for you. I would like to remind us we are in our very first year of implementation. And to be at implementation right now, I did want to put that we are at 100% implementation. It is happening in every classroom. We obviously, when you look at our data, the vast majority of our teachers are either on or ahead of pace, exactly where the pacing guide says to be, with the next biggest group being that they're 1, 2, or 3 days off of the pacing guide. And we, the numbers that are down at the bottom where we're 6 or more days, we had some classes that started very late. We had some classes that didn't have the materials. And we have some who we're supporting so that we get everyone going. But for a first year of implementation, to all of us in Ed Services, we're so proud of what our teachers are taking on and working through and working together to accomplish for our students. So they get a gold star. We continue with our professional development, especially through our 3rd through 6th grade elementary teachers, and we are working really diligently on this book called Shifting the Balance, and it's 3 through 5. It's really 3 through 12. This is where that second side of the equation lies: vocabulary, background knowledge. How do we work on morphology, which would kind of goes on both sides because you're working vocabulary. Over the course of this school year, all of our 3rd through 6th grade teachers will be participating in this book study. We've bought the site's bought the books for every grade level, for every teacher at those grade levels. And then our professional development, each chapter has been laid out. So I've kind of done some pre-making of the professional development for them, so that the schools who want to do plug and play can kind of plug and play. The schools who want to take it and make it their own can make it their own, and the ones who want to do it completely on their own can do it that way. We want to make it so it's doable for everyone and also have the resources that they need. There's always collaboration and planning time as a part of the PD, always, because without that, it's really just someone talking to you. In case you wanted to know, these are the chapters of study that are included. There's 6 chapters. And the deeper we go, the more we understand that vocabulary and background knowledge are probably one of the biggest. Next to knowing how to read and decode, the next biggest thing that we have is the importance of vocabulary and background knowledge. If you can't understand it when it's said to you, it's very difficult to read it. So we need to provide more vocabulary. And now we're understanding as teachers and administrators that it wasn't just about reading the book, it was about going into that book and pulling out all kinds of things to build more experiences for our kids so they could make those connections when they go to read on their own. We're discovering that very quickly in our book study with this book. They get a gold star. We continue to do some ongoing voluntary teaching trainings to encourage teachers who would like more support or to share ideas or to collaborate together to come. These are on Thursday afternoons. We've had 2 so far, so just wanted to give a little shout out to that. Again, our mission, we're very serious about it, and we do believe that the foundational reading years in elementary and then moving into the upper elementary grades is so important. We are working diligently right now. We have many of our principals who will have attended by the beginning of December, big institutes on RTI, which is MTSS, also multiple tier system of support. This is the information that we are all starting to completely understand as teachers, as administrators, as ed services, so that we can support our students and whole group instruction and small group instruction, and then in individual instruction with students who are maybe missing some things. This is a big part of our year this year. This is the continuum that's come from the state. Dr. Jag wanted to say thank you for that slide. Again, we are getting our information so that we're all being able to be on the same page and working in the same direction. Our assessments, we are diligently working right now. We're piloting a K through 2 digitalized format to collect our data. It's been very interesting because it's brought up lots of questions, lots of things that we're trying to get consistency around so we can centrally collect the digital data and be able to then make some really good comparisons and some adjustments to what we need. So we're very happy about that. We will continue to do what we have been doing, but also that progress monitoring for UFly happens on a very regular basis, which helps to drive small group instruction in a more timely manner than an assessment that was maybe from 6 to 8 weeks ago. And just so you know kind of where we're headed, a deeper understanding of the MTSS continuum and that upside down inverted triangle, a deeper understanding of comprehension strategies, vocabulary, and background knowledge and the importance it plays. We're really looking at determining what our most important standards are so we can give that the greatest amount of time and making sure we have mastery. Some vertical articulation between grade levels to make sure that we're not leaving something out as we're moving on up. We're going to work on the management of small groups. That is a challenge. Herding kittens in kindergartens, no matter what grade you're in, but especially the lower grades, we are going to do some training so that we go back to, don't give them the box of manipulatives, just think you're actually going to do a lesson until you've had some time to play with them a little bit. So we're going to make our center time, our station time, but really our small group time, where we practice enough that when we go to do it, we can actually get the instruction in. Planning time is going to be in for our grade level standards. Assessments, we're continuing to work through those and get a deeper understanding of what that's going to look like. And a big one is the scheduling. For this to happen, it takes a massive amount of work to figure out tiered time and when it's protected and all of that. So we started that work last year. It was met with some interestingness at times, but we're understanding it now, and that will be the work of not only our administrators, but our leadership teams at the schools to help build the actual internal structures that we need to have these set times to get additional support. And our classified has been excellent. We pulled in everyone during these small group times to help, and they've really done an amazing job of learning some new skills and helping the teachers and the kids, and it makes a difference. So on that note, if this works, here's just some pictures of seeing it in real action. Do I just hit click? That's Uni the unicorn for UFly. And that was just some of our babies who are really, really working hard, and our teachers who are doing amazing things, and the support staff who's providing so much, and our administrators who are really helping to monitor and get the resources that we need. So AUSD, together, we are definitely learning, and we are definitely growing. And I really like this quote: "Education is learning what you didn't even know you didn't know." And we're doing it all to get here. And that is what I have for you tonight. I would love to give any insight or answer any questions that weren't clear, but I really want to say thank you for letting me come on behalf of Ed Services and show some of the things we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any questions from my colleague? Yeah, Trustee Lewis.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for putting this together. See, I can't speak without my voice cracking. And so, one of the things that I really wanted to highlight was earlier in the presentation where you said that, the first 4 days, I believe it was, you do instruction and then you sort of have an analysis of what was retained and then you revisit. I think getting back to that original intention of what testing was originally designed for is really helpful because, if we just test students for what they don't know, we don't understand kind of why, and sort of it's more of a compliment than anything. So thank you for getting back to that original intention of testing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Vice President.
How does that transfer into the ESL, the student that doesn't have the English skill?
So there was work done on that and research looked into when this was piloted back several years ago with EL students as well, that they were benefits of this is a very cyclical program that just keeps coming back and back and back, and it's very routine. And as we know, routine is very important. And then on average, my numbers might be incorrect, but for us to really internalize something, it takes about 27 opportunities to work with something, and our ELs is 3 times that at almost 75 times. So when you look at a program that's coming back and it's very repetitive and routine for our EL learners, it's an excellent opportunity for them to gain understanding because it's coming back to them again and again.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I totally forgot. We did get a public comment beforehand. I don't know if the board wants to hear that now or later. We have one public comment from Velma Wilson.
Good evening. Thank you, Deborah. You're always so animated. But I wanted to just ask, has there research been done, or is there going to be some extra support to incoming 6th graders at these middle schools? Not the K through 6 schools particularly, but the 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Because what I see just being at the middle schools that have 6 through 8, these 6th graders need that help and support. And I like what is being done in the K through, just to really focus on our babies, because that is a focus. But I think we're going to also need to go even further to look at what can we do to make sure and support these teachers with these 6th graders, incoming 6th graders that just can't read. And sometimes it's feeling overshadowed, but I would like to hear that there is going to be some more intentionality to that, because we also have families that are struggling with that. And I want to also give a special shout out, because Mary, you brought it up about our English language learners. Shout out to Essence Phillips for really putting that newcomer centers together and making sure it's interactive and that those families can get that support. I'm no dig to the Administrator of the Year proposal, but she has really did a lot of work around that, and Spanish was not her forte. And I just watched her as she developed that newcomer center. So let's remember, let's continually to pub that and really push the newcomer center for our English language learner families, because that's what it's there for. And there it is staffed during the school day, and families need to know that when they need that support and that reading development, the English language development, that is a big part of it as well.
Thank you. And sorry, Trustee Lathan, I totally interrupted you.
I have one more question. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
I was just thinking about the 6th grade, 5th grade, because I was at the school and I realized there were some that were going on to junior high and they were not able to read as well as they could. And I know that there's a shift. You have a reading teacher at an elementary, but then when you get to the junior high, it's a resource specialist. Right. And the resource specialist is not a reading teacher. So we lose them in there. So is there something that you're thinking about of how to be able to support them? And you brought up a great theme, because I was concerned about that too.
You want to take or you want me to take?
One of the things that we have for intervention in our middle schools is the Read 180 program. And so that does provide students, and it doesn't replace their English course, but it does provide the extra support to kind of fill the gaps in learning through the elementary grades when they get into the middle schools.
Okay.
But we should explore, I think, more opportunities to bring some of this work to there. Some of it, sometimes you have to be careful because it feels elementary. And when you're working with middle school age students, they don't want to feel like they're in a second grade classroom. So looking for ways to bring that to them in an age appropriate manner.
Thank you.
Trustee Lathan.
Thank you. And I wanted to appreciate you for your presentation.
Thank you.
When I first started on the board and I, would walk schools, I was really concerned about literacy, multiple subject areas, but literacy in particular for our schools, for our students, and then also looking at test scores, which I know is just a snapshot in time, and it's one indicator. But as I walk schools now, the night and day between when I first got elected on the board in 2022 and now is amazing. I see the consistency across schools in the K-2 setting, in the K-2 classrooms. I even went to a TK classroom where they're starting to do some of that work, and they were in centers and it was very organized, and kids were self-regulating. So that was nice. So I do see the work that is being done in those areas. I do agree with just really supporting the upper grades as well, and because they need it. They really need it. And I wish I had the name of the school. I'll get it, and I have it in my notes at home. But there was a school that I went to, an elementary school. They have a reading specialist, and she works with, when I was in there at least, it was 4th and 5th grade that were rotating through. Very clear. She's been going to training, like reading, intervention, reading specialist training. So not just making it up, but she's getting taught. And it was very clear. The kids could tell me what they were doing. A lot of what you were sharing with the double consonants and with diphthongs and like with all those things, they were learning that because they didn't get it. Some of it is because we were in the pandemic and they just didn't get those skills. And the other, it could be various reasons. But our older students really do need support. And I do, like Read 180, it's a process. A lot of it's done on the computer, and we need teachers, specialists teaching these young people how to read. And there are ways to do it where we can keep, make sure that they have dignity and they're not reading second grade material. A lot of the kids might not be able to decode, but they can comprehend, right? And so really having that balance so that they're respected and they're getting material that challenges their age level appropriateness, but then also helping them learn to decode. So I just want to say thank you to you, and I'm so proud of you. When I walked her school a couple of years ago, I was like, you need to be like leading the way, charging the way for our principals and our schools, and you are doing a fantastic job. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Trustee Heck?
No, just very well done.
Yeah, this was so great, and I echo that it's great to see these things happening in the classrooms. I think I was last at Sutter where I got to play with some of these trays and letters, so that was really fun. I guess one of the questions that I have is, how do teachers or how do you think about the different kind of almost like dimensions of success or learning when it comes to this, right? There's like the oral piece, there's these secret stories, there's the actual reading. So how do you assess or think about these different pieces? Because I imagine that there's students that may be really good at some of these things, but maybe not some of the other ones. Or even a case where students maybe aren't building that phonetic foundation, but yet they develop these other skills to be able to read the words. And so maybe it's a lot harder to identify that, like, hey, these foundational things are going to be really important as you continue to develop your skills. But
Right.
because they appear to be kind of reading and hitting these marks in the ways that we understand them, that maybe we're not making sure to fill in those gaps in knowledge that are there.
I think that's a great question. One of the things to understand is that when we do UFly in K through 2, it is whole class. So even our kids who are looking like they have it, it's not until they get to the encoding part or the spelling that we really are able to determine that they own it. If you can spell it, you generally You can read it and spell it. You've got what you need to work on those special spellings, the digraphs, diphthongs, doubling consonants, all of those things. We often think that children who are reading, especially in a K through 2 and into 3rd grade, are able to decode and encode with full phonics. But really what it is they have a great memory of some sight words, and then they get to multiple syllable words and crash and burn. So this brings you through multiple syllables. It brings you also in that Shifting the Balance book. There's, I believe it's chapter 4, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure on morphology and really looking within words at Greek and Latin roots, understanding prefixes and suffixes so you can find meaning within words. All of that comes in to these kids who kind of sometimes look like they got it all together, but you get into a little bit longer word and we don't know how to attack it. And really, it is an attacking thing that we have to teach. So by it being whole group for 30 minutes, then our small group where you're getting what you need, and then those 4th and 5th graders, like you were talking about, getting some more intense interventions, that is how we're going about in a systematic way to try and prevent some of the things that we've seen happening, not just in Antioch, but pretty much everywhere.
And then the last few questions I have are on slide 11. I think it's the first year implementation and
Oh, yeah.
pacing guide
Okay.
data.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, right there. Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do the days 3 and 6 have any particular meaning? Do we care about being within 3 or 6 days? Is there?
Our goal right now is the way that that we looked at it in Ed Services was when we were trying to figure out numbers to be on or at the pacing guide is pretty incredible for a first year implementation. To be within 3 means that you're really 1 day off because every lesson takes 2 days, a part 1 and a part 2 essentially. We went with the 6 days because that's going to put you more than a week behind, but still within a range to catch up, especially when we had some Fridays that we hadn't done the progress monitoring yet. Now we're starting to work on our progress monitoring. And more than 6 days, we wanted to put in there and highlight for ourselves so that as administrators, we can support teachers who are needing something, whether that's they're needing a different resource, they're needing more confidence, they're needing to go and watch someone else, or they just need someone to say, all right, let's go. And I've been all of those teachers at one time or another in my tenure as a teacher, so I know those feelings. But really, it's more about us being able to ensure equity to all of our students, and those were the way we picked those numbers. There's no magic to them. It just seemed like a reasonable number at this point in the year after we're at the end of our first trimester.
Yeah, and I ask these questions because I think you've done such a great job of showing, and obviously our teachers have all these great skills and have the right knowledge. And really, I think our big challenge all the time with so many of the things that we're doing is, are we spending our time and using our resources in the place where we're going to be most effective? And that's really the challenging part because, there's a million different things that teachers can be doing. So I guess the next question that I kind of have also kind of on this data piece is, so I guess if you collapse people that are behind, we see that in 2nd grade, roughly 2/3 are behind versus, in kinder and 1st grade, it's a little bit closer to about 50%.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a little bit about what may be some of the factors there, but can you say more about, is there something particular going on in 2nd grade that maybe makes that more challenging, or any insight as to what might be going on there?
And we just did this last week, so that's when we got our numbers. Just so you know, Director Larson has been in touch with, administrators. I've been in touch with them to say, okay, is there something that's going on in different spots? And there are some extenuating circumstances, like I said, with some of those numbers. We don't necessarily have an answer yet, but we haven't delved into it. I also know that sometimes for 2nd grade, not having kids who came up doing this in kindergarten and in 1st grade, there are some deficits that are in place potentially. And there's some backfilling that either needs to happen or we think needs to happen. And sometimes that's part of it. We have great teacher brains and we got experienced people and we know oh my gosh, and this program can feel pretty fast, especially when kids aren't there. But it's it's that coming back and coming back and coming back. So we're gonna figure it out. We definitely are planning on collecting data on a very regular basis, just so that we can all be supportive in where we're going and make adjustments if we need to.
No, yeah, no, I definitely love it. I think, we're continuing to grow as an organization when it comes to, how we're using data, making sure that we're continuing to grow and develop those practices. Because I guess kind of my last question is, I think something that would be interesting to look at, or a way of maybe having looked at that is like, what's the average days off pace? I think that can help us kind of really understand what like the extent of the problem, if it even is a problem, because when you collapse things into like off by more than 6 days, it's like, are they all at that 6th day, or is there
Yeah.
some people there?
And I
it's
think
similar
that-
to the people that may be ahead of pace. I think it'd be potentially interesting to look at, do we have any like really bright spots that maybe there's some really great practices that we can capitalize on?
There's amazing ones. And when we're ahead of pace, we're usually ahead by 1 day because it is a very fast-paced program. The ones that are within 3 days, that is 3 days and 6 days is exactly, I'm just going to be honest, I didn't expect to see those numbers on the top as high as they are. Like, that is incredible. And I am so proud of our staffs that they have dug in and even when it's counterintuitive to be going as fast as it seems to be going, that they're trusting the process. For the bottom ones, probably the average after looking at the data is probably 10 days behind, 8 days behind, which puts like 2 weeks. One of the things we had to clarify is on a minimum day, we're still going to do UFly for that 30 minutes. We might not do the small groups on a minimum day because you got to get rid of something when you don't have a full day, but kind of clarifying that we are going to stay on the pace on those minimum days. And I think that maybe that wasn't as clear as it could have been in some cases, but is getting clear now. In general, those numbers are great. And we have a couple of outliers that we're going to work directly with and see how we can support. But it's pretty incredible. And I think Ed Services really is proud of everyone. And I appreciate your kind words, but this is not a Deborah Malin thing. This is an all of us thing. And it's been really neat to see us work together to really go after something important and have a system in place for it. So we're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah, Trustee Layton, yeah.
Follow up to President Hernandez. I do appreciate the data as well. And I just want to, I think as long as we're thinking critically about what this means for student learning is really important, because it might mean something like, oh, kids are really far behind, but it also might mean the teachers, like you said, are using their best judgment to figure out the pace that needs to happen for their class. My one caution is to not be on pace so tight that teachers are missing, that students are missing the learning, and that because that's the most important thing. I started teaching in the 90s in a district where open court was really big, and using the sound spelling cards, like all of that, and we used to have to put on our door the unit we were on and the page. And when we looked at the scores, that actually didn't help. What helped was when teachers went deep with the learning with students, and that students were beginning to internalize it. So I think it's a balance, just making sure that, yes, teachers are on a pace, but not so much that they're leaving kids behind, so that they are not learning what they need to learn. Yeah. So I'm glad you have this so that you can see what makes a difference and what doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. And I was part of that whole open court time period also, so I know what you're saying. It was an amazing time period where I actually learned how to teach reading, and maybe I learned how to read during that time period also, because I didn't understand this, and I'm really glad that we have something. It's essentially the green section. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and we just want to make sure that we don't get so far behind that kids are missing a third of what they needed to for their grade level, but we need to do it in a respectful way that honors how we learn. And then that small group time is also the time to be able to go back and help fill in some gaps.
Yeah, and I guess, my final comment was going to be, I think to your point that, I think we can continue to be really intentional about how we're displaying data, because I think to your point, right, like if the success we want to highlight here is like, look at how many teachers are on pace or ahead of pace here. Thinking about here, it kind of like emphasizes a lot of like the places that were kind of off pace without even giving context to like what that could look like. And that's why I talked about that's kind of averages piece. So I think, there's kind of two sides of here. It's not just always about like calling out where we're deficient. It's also like, how can we use data to also call out where our strengths are at?
Yeah.
Trustee Lewis.
So to that point, what might be interesting is a year over year. Obviously, we can't do it this first year because it's the first year. But let's say year 3, 5, 7, or sort of those out years like that. If we look at the impact that this program has had on student learning, because then we can actually look at what the impact is, but then also we can go back and tweak some of those areas that might need to be improved.
Yeah, and I know that we have some who are really trying to see how to take the pacing guide and rearrange some of where the lessons are to match some of the stories that they're doing in other places, and we're trying to figure out where that happy medium is, that happy balance, because there's something to be said about doing something with a pretty strong fidelity when you're first starting to see whether or not it's getting where you're going, and then there's also that, I taught first grade for 20 years. I kind of know a little bit about what I'm doing, but that doesn't mean that I don't know it all. And I did teach reading for 10 years and had no idea what I was doing until Open Court came along and said, no, that's not really what reading looks like. So it's kind of a magical mix of both.
Well, thank you again. I mean, this is really great, and I think we're so proud of the work that's being done here in the school district when it comes to literacy.
Great presentation there.
Moving on to 9 hearings, we have none. 10 public presentations, we have none. 11 consent items, we do have 1 public comment that we'll start with for item 11H from Laura Boet.
Good evening again. So I am Laura Boet, and I'm also a community member here in Antioch. It's wonderful news that I've heard that Fremont's rebuild has been moved up from Phase 3 to Phase 1. Even with this exciting news, it is alarming to hear that there might be a hesitation on using HKIT as the architect. I feel that HKIT has a positive track record with AUSD when they were the architect for the Antioch High School project in 2012. I was recently at John Muir Elementary in Martinez Unified School District. The facility had been rebuilt, it's very modern, and the campus ground and buildings are beautiful. Thinking about Fremont, I found myself wanting our campus to look like theirs. Not knowing until I did some research on HKIT for this concern, I was pleasantly surprised to find that they were the architect. I am under the understanding that HKIT has already completed the Fremont plans. If the plans go out for rebid, it does not seem like a wise use of our limited funds unless there is truly a problem using HKIT. The start of the rebid would delay the start of the project by 6 months or more. With an estimated completion time within 24 months, it seems like we cannot afford any delays. The bond was passed back in March of this year, and it already has been 8 months without any Phase 1 project started that I'm aware of. This is unacceptable for the students and community of Antioch. I, as a taxpayer and proponent of the recent bond measure, have put my trust in our school district and school board to ensure that the monies will be mindfully spent. Please do not delay the rebuilding of Fremont any longer and risk further unnecessary costs. Thank you.
Great. So we have the consent calendar in front of us. Is there any items that we need to pull for discussion or comment? Yes, Trustee Lathan.
11F, agreement to transfer lease assignment. I just wanted to know more about it. I read it a couple of times. I wasn't really sure. Who are we transferring the lease to and from and all of that?
So this is a lease that the district
agreed to back in 1998. I do have the leasee here with us, Mr. John Mitchell, and then the new leasee, the proposed leasee, Mr. Pentel, that they can answer more questions. They've been involved with this lease a lot longer than I have. But the district has been in this since 1998. It was a 60-year lease, and it was all prepaid up front. So basically, they're transferring it between the two of them, and it does have no financial impact.
So what is it leased to and from? We should know that if we're going to approve it.
From,
Yeah, yes, please.
from
Feel free to come up.
LNR.
Like, yeah, they'll tell, I guess.
I am John Mitchell. I work for Starwood, and I flew in from Miami Beach this morning. The bank, and we've owned this for a little over 5 years now, and we're now selling it to Mr. Shaw here and his group. They live in the Bay Area, so I like the fact that instead of someone in Miami owning this, a bank, it's going to be a local to your Bay Area that's now going to be owning and operating this.
Okay, just to get clarity, currently it's a bank operating out of that you're leasing. You're leasing our facility and you're running a bank out of it. Is that
Oh,
what
no,
I
no,
hear you saying?
I'm an owner, that's the bank. So we actually
Say it again.
foreclosed-
I'm sorry, I
we
misunderstood.
foreclosed on this property.
Okay,
And I've been running it, from Miami Beach, as any owner, I guess, would be, but
okay, I'm confused. I'm sorry, because it
Thousands
says
of miles
lease.
away.
Yeah,
It
so
says
this
lease.
this is property that we own.
Yes.
So Hillcrest and Deer Valley, across from the Safeway is the McDonald's and the Walgreens. So
Okay.
we own that piece of property.
Okay.
Back in 1999.
Yes.
They leased this out. The district did, and got money up front. So they, instead of getting like a monthly lease, they got an upfront payment, and it was a 60-year lease. So now they're transferring the lease,
So I do understand it correctly. We own the property.
correct?
All right.
you own the land.
We own the land. Got it. Okay. I'm like, we own something. It says lease.
We own the land, they built on it.
All right. So we own the land. You built a structure on it,
Which we own,
which you own. All right, perfect. Thank you.
selling it to Mr. Shaw.
So, good evening, board members. So, we are a local based in San Jose. So, we have a group of 4 people, and we have a bunch of real estate, retail, and commercial in Bay Area. And we are purchasing from John, and we have an agreement. And we would take care of property, and we like it. And we have a route here for 20 plus years, and we'll take good care of property. Yeah.
And what will
Thank
you be doing out of the company? Like, what is the company?
Our company? Yeah, so we own real estates. So we have a real estate as well as retail business in the Bay Area, in petroleum, as well as commercial real estate. So,
Follow-up question?
Yes, please.
So, if I'm understanding sort of the subtext of Dr. Jack's question, so once you're operating the buildings, is there a plan for what you will do? I think that's kind of what we are.
oh, I see.
Like,
Yeah,
what
no,
type of-
our plan is to make occupancy, right now it's 94%, and we would like to keep as close as 100. And so that's our plan. So basically, quality tenants, we would like to lease it to. So it has a bank, McDonald's.
It's commercial, all right?
Yes, yes.
It's all commercial.
Okay, so Ms. Liz Robbins just said it's McDonald's and Walgreens.
There is a bank, yeah.
An O'Reilly's, a nail salon.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank
It's
you.
a bunch of
All right.
You got it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. I just want to make sure if anybody in the community comes and says, you guys are leasing something and it's a gun shop or something, like, I'm trying to figure out what it is you guys are doing. So now I understand.
There's one vacancy left. Mr. Shaw told me tonight he's thinking about putting a barber in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Thank you.
What about Walgreens?
They might be leaving.
I know. So you're inheriting something that is a big project, well-established, with good companies, except for now you're going to have one loss. I'm sure you can rebuild it, though, because that's a busy area, close to BART. And a
Ins-
lot of houses around there.
And yeah, they recently let us know that they would no longer be
I know.
continuing, but
But that's a company situation, national.
that's exactly right.
So you have no choice on that one.
They didn't even want to negotiate a lower
know.
rate. They just said.
I know. We're sad, because that's a good one.
And just for public consumption, are we confident that there'll be sufficient commercial interest in that area?
Yes, absolutely. It's a very heavy trafficked area, and we think we should be able to lease that pretty quickly.
Okay. And again, for public consumption, what is the occupancy rate among your other commercial sites? A rough estimate is fine.
Right. Yeah, it's mostly in 85-95%, right? And we do have also a retail business. So
Oh, okay, retail.
Yeah. So that helps in funding and all that. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to meet you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Same here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a few more, but I don't know if anyone else does. 11H and I, which is the H Kit Architects. I know when the gentleman from the organization was here before, he came up because I asked a question about community engagement with the process, the design process. And so I'm just following back up with that because as I read through the proposal, it said for their meeting, it says we have included a maximum of 4 design meetings, but that's with the district personnel. And it says there's no community or other district meetings are included, but can be added at the district's request. And so I understand the importance of having these design schematics done in a timely manner so that we can stay on track. And wanted to know what the board felt about having them, engage the community. And even if that's something they do, I don't know if this they said they can do it, but do they have experience doing it? Because, we have parents that speak Spanish. We have parents who, there are a lot of different factors, and we need to make sure we're inclusive. But I just want to make sure that the school staff and the families have say into the design. This is the time to do it, otherwise it'll kind of be too late. Yeah, she's like, are you asking the board? Yes, I'm asking the board. Like, how do you all feel about that in terms of having them engage the community? So I know it's Orchard Park, Fremont Elementary School, and a couple of other schools.
I think my understanding is we can add those on kind of throughout this entire process, and kind of the first step is approving this, and then we can add those on to these existing contract here.
I agree.
I would agree. I think adding those in is vitally important because, again, the community understands what the community needs. And so, with the caution to not delay, kind of what was stated earlier. So I think a both-and approach would be,
Yes, so that's my question to you all, is would you like that, or do you want them to just design and the community and teachers and staff just have to deal with whatever they come up with?
Well, I don't think that's the intention, even with the way the proposal's written. So currently, we've had some John Muir preliminary meetings, and we've included staff. And we continue to include the administrator, and then we'll add to it. So the intent, even with the way that this is written, is not to exclude anybody.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
definitely
reading the
going to be
language from the proposal, and it
Right.
says, no community or other district meetings are included, but can be added at the district's request.
Yes, so there's no intent to exclude people.
So at the district's request, does that mean we have to pay for additional meetings? That's what I think, that's what usually it means, right?
Yes.
Okay,
but
so that's my point.
There's already 4 included, and we can include as many people as we want from the district
Okay, all right.
in those meetings.
All right, because when I read that, I didn't hear, when I read that part of it, I didn't hear it. I heard during design, our service include monthly check-in meetings with the Antioch USC or their construction manager.
Yeah, we can include whoever we want. We have so far.
Okay, so you can include family and community and site administrators and teachers in those design meetings?
Yes.
Okay, all right, perfect, because I've been in part of design meetings, and this doesn't sound like intentional design. It's usually a process. I don't mean to frustrate you, but I'm just looking out for our families and our staff, and so, anyway, if it's not important to you all, I will let it go, and we'll have them design, and we will
Well, let's be really clear, because I don't like that language at all. Like, it's not that this is not important. It's that this is kind of what's before us here. We can still do, and I think it's been clear that the intention is to have those community meetings. It's just that getting those set and done is not through this particular agenda item here. So we can definitely have that as a discussion to make those happen. This is not the decision point of whether we're including the community or not.
And if you want to share specifically how you like to see that happen, feel free to send me an email, and I can sort of structure it in such a way. But I have worked with communities in the past. These architects have also worked with communities in the past, and I'm assuming the construction management firm that we will select have also worked with communities in the past. So they do have experience.
Okay. Yeah, as long as there's a plan, maybe you can.
Please send me what you prefer, and then we can work with that too. And then I could share it with the board president, and we can work through that.
Yeah, no, what I would prefer is if you just send me what what you guys have already done, because I don't want to replicate something if you're saying we've already met with 30 parents and they've already talked about the design, and then we don't need to. So it might be something I'm missing. So just send me what they've already done, and then we can keep it moving from there. It's just hard for me because I know I'm hearing, the reason why I keep pushing this is because I hear what I'm told, and then when I go to schools, the principals are like, no one has talked to us. We don't know. We're just told that we're going to get A, B, and C. And so I'm going, okay, how do we close that gap?
Yeah, so there's a
that
difference
they
between
know
A, B,
that.
and C, whether it's an HVAC, a roofing, or a whole school. There's a big difference between a
I know.
design.
Yeah,
And
I know.
so I don't know which principals you're talking to, so maybe we can talk off, and then so I can, inform them and get some more information, because I'm happy to do that. We have not done specific design of anything on these projects. This is to
Okay.
get it started. So this
Okay.
is the first step, is securing a architect so that they could start the design.
Yes, perfect, thank you. And last question, how do we select the architects? Do we use one architect for everything? Because I noticed this architect is used for multiple things, or
So-
are other people submitting bids?
So this,
Other companies.
I personally did not do an RFQ for architects. When I came to this district, this was the architect of record for many projects. And oftentimes, when they start to learn the standards, and the thing about districts, when they do bigger projects, you don't necessarily want to go out and start a new one unless you have an issue or a concern about the current one.
Yes.
But this district has had probably 3 different architects, this one being one of them, and then 2 other ones that have not done, in my opinion, that great of work.
Okay.
So if we want to consider another architect for like the HVAC projects or some of the other projects that we have coming, we can definitely do an RFQ and structure another architect to be on site for different projects. This, like I said, this architect had already been with the district, and that's why I asked them to send us a proposal for these projects, because they've kind of established themselves here.
Got it, so
And
there are established architecture firm. We haven't put out RFQs for any other firms to be able to apply, but we could.
For other projects, not for
proposals.
these, but
Yeah.
different projects.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Vice President Rocha.
Thank you for those questions. I think that was good. But I was going to say thank you very much, Ms. Robbins, for working on 2 projects, because we only had 1 to begin with, and you decided it was okay to push harder. And I know it's hard because you're that one person that has to deal with all of this. And now we've got Fremont, which we were all wanting, but we couldn't get them up the list.
So, yeah, so that thought process of talking with Cabinet and the architect is trying to see if they had the capacity to do the bigger projects. And so he has 2 principals in his firm, Jeff, the one that you met, and then there's a female, Melissa, who's the other principal. So she'll be taking on one, and he'll be doing the other, and that's how they're trying to divide it. And so I'm trying to sort of, if you envision 2 sort of project teams, to kind of get both of them going simultaneously, because it's a pretty big.
Big project.
It's big projects to do. I've never done 2 simultaneously at this level, but I'm confident that if I build the team with a construction management firm, which will be on the agenda for next time, I'm confident that HKID is a very experienced firm with K-12, which is very, very important that you have architects that know the K-12 and the DSA and all the intricacies that come with trying to build a school. I think that will be very successful.
We're excited.
All right, thank you. 11O, Contra Costa Special Education Local Plan Area Master Contract with Change Academy at Lake of Ozark. That is an out-of-state non-public school. So just wanted to know, how many students do we have in out-of-state programs? And if you don't have the answer today, it's okay. If you can email it, that would be great. I'm just curious how many
Yeah, I'll
students we
email
have.
it. We don't have many, but there are some instances where we have to seek residency programs, and oftentimes they end up out of state because California does not have them. Particularly, I don't say they don't have them, but the secure residency programs. So it provides a level of security for kids that are like violent or self-harming. They have to have additional measures that aren't often found in California.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, 11P, service agreement with Lincoln Hope Services for 2024-25. This is an outsourced service. I don't remember what for. I think it's counseling or something. What?
No, this one is, oh, sorry, that was really loud. This is for our community resource coordinators.
Yes.
Yes, and it's being provided through the STOPS grant.
Okay. And one of my, it's outsourced. My question is, does the grant say they have to be outsourced, or could we have hired staff?
No, we typically, when it's grant funded, we will outsource because it's difficult to hire, retain, train, and then have to lay off if we don't have sustaining funding that we can continue the position. And this particular organization has these folks, they do the training, they come highly recommended, and they've done a great job for us in the past.
Okay, so then, when I hear that, the way I'm interpreting it, and tell me if I need to understand it a different way, it sounds like we're going to outsource with this company to support with community, a community schools kind of model thing, right? Like they're providing resources and all of that. Am I correct?
It's not completely
No?
the same as the community schools because it doesn't have all of the what is it, the domains or
Yeah, yes,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It doesn't cover all of that.
Yeah.
This is a service that has been in existence that predates the community schools work in our district.
Okay.
And so they've done a great job working with our middle school families in connecting them to resources in the community.
So then how do we build capacity amongst our own staff? So when the grant goes away and we no longer have funding, if we don't have funding, how do we, and this is a service that we're saying our students and families need, how do we build the capacity of our staff to be able to do this instead of outsourcing? Because this is over $1 million.
It's going to be funding dependent. So if we can find ways, I mean, I know we're coming, on some times where the budget's going to get tight. So I'm not certain, where funding will lay. And I think too, that's part of the reason why we're moving toward the community schools work, because that is something that is being supported by the state and CTA. So we want to move in that direction eventually, but until we get there, this is something that we have access to through that grant.
Okay, thank you.
Great. If there's not any more questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I approve. I'm sorry. I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second?
Great. So it's been properly moved and seconded to approve all items A through Q. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. And the motion passes. Next, moving on to 12 action items, we have item A, established a date for the annual organization meeting. So we know that annually we have to meet to define the organization of our school district, which includes things like selecting the board president, vice president, and all these different parts and pieces. We have an upcoming meeting on the 18th that fits all the parameters that we need for this meeting, because we do have to do it within a regular time frame annually. And so we do just have to actually approve and say that this is going to be our annual organization meeting. Anything I'm missing there, Dr. Martinez?
Nope, you've got it all covered.
Great. So unless there's any questions about that, I'll entertain a motion to approve December 18th, 2024 as the date for the annual organization meeting of the board.
I move approval.
Second.
Great, so it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. And the motion passes. Moving on to 13, items for information, discussion, and action by the board. We have item A, discussion of potential superintendent search firms and process for identifying the next superintendent. So this discussion is really for us to start to define the process for identifying a permanent superintendent. And so I don't know if there's more context to kind of add there, Dr. Martinez.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
What I did provide for the board and for the public is a document that was really designed as action steps for consideration. It was really based under some of the history of how other boards have gone through a process of seeking a search firm to support them in finding a long-term superintendent. And so with that, there are several well-known firms that are listed on that document, such as Leadership Associates, Hazard Young and Atia, McPherson and Jacobson LLC, Education Leadership Services, and even School Services of California. This is not an exhaustive list. It was a list of several of the more well-known that go through the standard processes, working with the publications, working with the recruitment centers and sites that most individuals who are seeking roles of superintendents start to look for in applying for positions. What this information does is basically gives you a guide to several of the action steps. Initially, it would be a request for proposal that we would reach out to the different search firms saying, Antioch Unified School District is interested in recruiting you to help us find a new superintendent. Then there would be a process of which they would provide a proposal to the board for review, outlining the services that they would recommend through that process. And again, those are listed on the back here, which include oftentimes community meetings, seeking input directly from the board members, seeking input from the employee organizations, looking at the community, developing, in essence, a program description or a position description for the job. This is what the Antioch Unified School District wants in a new superintendent going into the future. This is what the community wants. Here's the goals that the district is headed toward and the wonderful services that we're providing to our students. And here's what we're looking for. Here's the range of salary that you're going to pay this individual and the benefits. So you develop that program description, and then it goes out to the recruiting process. Your search firm, in essence, then helps guide the acceptance of applications, the review of references, the review of background criteria, and does some initial screening and/or brings all of those applicants to the board, more so in a closed session, where in a closed session, you're now working with the contracted search firm to determine who it is that you would like to bring in for further discussions and interviews. Again, that's a curtailed view of what it is that is last in the process for finding a new superintendent. The usual decision at that point comes to, again, the board to determine that's the individual that you would like to put under contract. And then you go through a negotiation of a formalized contract, sometimes with the search firm, sometimes not including the search firm, but with the individual themselves. The length of contract, the actual salary, the other benefits included, the support that will be provided, those types of things. So it's a match that you want to get to where the board is really seeking this individual to become the next superintendent. That superintendent candidate wants to be here in Antioch. You want to find the person who wants to be here long-term to support the important work that's occurring. So with that, that's your overall process. But before we get there, it's working to determine, do we want to communicate with these particular firms? Are there others you're interested in? How do you want to get started? Because before anybody will do any work for you, They have to give you a proposal, you have to settle on a contract for services with them, and then you have to start your process. So it could be a lengthy process with all of those steps, but again, could be a very valuable process, given the important work that is needed for the scholars of this community. With that, I'll leave it to you for a continuing conversation.
Yeah, so maybe I'm happy to get the conversation started. Because I think in general, yeah, all the steps here, I think, make sense to me to go out for an RFP. I think I'd want us to be, as exhaustive as possible, I think, with more firms, although, I think there's some great ones here on this list. I think the one decision point on here that's a little bit vague that I definitely have an opinion about is I think it would be more appropriate for the board to be the one doing the scoring of the proposals that come in. But otherwise, I think what we have here before us, I think, makes a lot of sense. But I'd love to hear what my colleagues think.
I would like to have community input. Okay, so I would actually like to have a team, a variety of people reviewing whoever that person is. Scoring it, I think I'd like to have them score as well as us score and come out to see who with the numbers.
If I could add clarification, there's two different levels. When you request for the proposal, those proposals come in. What I heard Board President Hernandez say is that you want the board to review those proposals to determine
Oh, true.
your scoring
I'm
on
sorry.
that. No, that's all right.
I was jumping.
And then, when you get to the process, you absolutely can have community interviews where you actually have the individual applicants meet with people and receive input from that panel of individuals.
Right.
That's a practice that has become more frequent in superintendent searches, so you can do both.
Exactly.
thank you.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And I would second that because, obviously the board has goals that will be established, but the community also has ideas around, kind of what's needed and how to roll that out. And so having, I would argue, sort of an open panel discussion, because if you just have one person, that person represents that one person's voice, and it may not necessarily be reflective of the entire community. And so having either a forum or some engagement with the potential candidates once that process is finished, I think will be a benefit.
But what's before us probably is just the RFP understanding, right? And if we just open it up, these are the ones that were identified. There could be others, correct? So do we want to just have an open and allow them to flow into whatever comes in? Because I'm sure that we'll need to have this done as soon as possible.
And what also might be helpful is if the board decides what criteria is prudent for the recruiting firm. Like what skills and what, because again, every recruiting firm has its particular skill sets. So which one is going to make one stand out versus another? I think that's an important conversation to have.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like when I think of recruiting the firms, those who have a database of applicants already, like they know they have a group of superintendents and they have access to a database. So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Trustee Hack, any thoughts or comments?
I'm going to abstain because I won't be in part of this process, so, yeah.
All right, so it sounds like, Dr. Martinez, that really I think the first step, and it sounds like we're pretty much in agreement, is that we do want to do an RFP and get some firms to submit for that RFP, and then we'd like to then look at those proposals. And I think there's definitely a lot of places that I think we want to include community engagement, community forums, but it sounds like that comes a little bit later, like just after we kind of select that firm in that process. Is that correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. So again, what I'm understanding is that we will initiate the RFP process. We will, if you would like to have that reviewed by the board president before it formally goes out, just so again, we don't want to move without the board being leading this charge, or how you'd like to do that, we can set it up for that way, so we have some consultation. And then, again, seek to send it out. There's, again, if we want to go more broadly, we can seek other reputable firms, or we can stick to this limited list. That's the clarification, if there's any clarification. We want to go with these particular firms and then expand out. There may be others that, again, I'm not aware of even at this moment, but we can put out some feelers out there or see if there's other advisors who may have some to request documents from.
Yeah, I think I got the sense we wanted to expand out.
Okay,
from-
and that's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's appropriate. All right, we'll get going and then bring back information.
You don't need action on it, do you?
No.
Okay. Just directions.
Great. Moving on to 13B, discussion of board goal development process. So this is, I think, a similar-ish type of discussion is, right now, I think we need to discuss what's the process of how we want to develop board goals. So is that, we want to do it during one of our regular meetings and we think it's that a quick discussion? Do we need to get an outside firm to guide us through that process? And kind of provide a lot more professional development in the development of those board goals? Do we think that we have the skills or people here internally to help guide us through this part? Like, could we do this as a board with the superintendent and cabinet? Kind of all of these things are kind of up for potential discussion. Any more context to add to that, Dr. Martinez?
The only thing that I would add for the board to maybe consider is that when now you're approaching the superintendent search, one of the things that will be helpful to help the search firm when they come to meet with you would be to have some guiding principles. And again, there's many goals that the board can design and focus on. We know that there's goals in development surrounding the work of equity. That's important. There's goals that you want to have as far as governance working together. There's goals that we already have, the LCAP goals and the implementation goals of our reading and literacy. We heard about a lot of that today. So there's so many areas. For the short term, you'll want to focus on some of the things that you can give to the search firm about, here's some big whole goals. Without having anything new, they'll look to your LCAP goals. They'll look to the current goals. So if there's any more guidance to give to a search firm, that will be an important part. I'll say this, again, as the current acting superintendent and doing the work and supporting all of our departments and our educational service team and all of our employees, in effect, short-term goals for what you'd like me to continue working on as I do that work, because this process will still take some time. And so that would be beneficial as I am continuing to support the leadership and your direction as well. So there's another thing to think about. There's also the long-term implications of your goals. You know that you have some strong assets occurring here in your professional development, in building the capacity of our employees. We've talked about that. We need to have sustainable process. So there's the longer-term goals as well that, as I think Dr. Jagas said this before, we can do everything we want, but we can't do it all today. We have to take different bites. Maybe you said it differently, but that sense of we have to make sure and have a good plan in process so that we're all working in alignment together. I don't know if that's more to chew on, but again, in the process, you'll want to have some first things first for your search firm. You'll want to have some action support that, again, with new board members, I'll say that, guiding the work of what we're doing right now, because today's students need us doing what we can do right now, not just waiting. We're doing that work. But the support that we can provide them is important based on the goals that we receive from you.
I guess I'm wondering, this might be not the intended idea, but because I guess I'm leaning towards having like a firm come in and help us through this process and maybe going through an RFP process. But I'm wondering if any of the search firms also have specialization or additional services in board goal development and whether there might be some benefits to working with our search firm to both develop our board goals and that superintendent search so that they, I guess, more intimately understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
May I interject for a minute? So you, me, staff, parents, community members came together and drafted board goals. We have not shared them yet. The idea was that we will, the idea that I proposed at one point was for us to have some kind of Saturday study session where we can review, make changes, make updates, and decide as a newer board what things we want to keep and what things we don't. And they came from the draft goals, the equity audits across all 25 of our schools, plus things from the LCAP and conversations that we had as a group of about 20 people. And so can you clarify if I'm missing something? Because I don't want to, because I've been telling these people, this group from the Equity Board Committee, we're going to bring it back because they put in their work in it. And so I just want to know how that's going to be folded in, because I definitely don't want people to think that we did not honor their time and their commitment to helping us draft these goals.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, as a board, we can decide, and I think there's nothing that stops us from including that in the board development process, in however way that we do it. I think, and you're right, we want to include that feedback, the work that we've been doing with the equity audits and those parts and pieces as well, and then have that be, I guess, maybe one way to think about this is, right, those pieces were developed with a few of us board members in there, but this does need to be like a whole board conversation. So maybe it's bringing people in to take that piece and additional kind of thoughts behind that to make sure that we are like a unified board on what those goals are ultimately going to be.
I personally would like to see the LCAP goals, the goals that we might all have in our minds, your goals that you're just talking about.
They're not my goals.
Well, the goals that you guys were working on, since I've not seen them, and that we have a chance to take a look at them and see what we want to pick as a board, unified.
Yeah, and again, I guess like what we're discussing is how are we going to go about like doing that,
We need a workshop. We need time. I don't think we could do it right after a meeting or before a meeting, excuse me. We need an actual time, separate.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm saying, or what we're saying is now, so we have this additional time. It looks like it's going to take us longer. Do we want someone, put out an RFP to help us guide us through that process, right? Because like you said, I think there is a lot of goals. There's the LCAP, there's the work that the Equity Committee did, there's our own individual thoughts, there's potentially like a community input things, additional community input, additional thoughts that the cabinet has, that staff has, things like that, that we, I think, to me, feels hard for us to manage and navigate as a board, and would be great to have someone who specializes that to help us kind of synthesize these into, a few goals that I think capture some of the core pieces of that. Because I think the challenge that we keep running into is that like there is I think as Dr. Martinez and Trustee Lathan said, there's just so many things to do, and we need to find a way to get focused on a few core things that we think are really going to move this district forward and guide our superintendent search process.
One of the things that you said a few minutes ago, Board President Hernandez, was, are there people within these search firms that have those skill and that bandwidth to be able to do that type of work as well? And there certainly are. Most of the folks who work in these particular search firms are established longtime superintendents who then go through a process of, again, developing their own personal skills, getting to that point of being able to support not just governance structures, but they are aware of governance structures and helping with goal development. So we could make that a subset of the RFP, where you could, again, say, we're looking at a superintendent search, and we're also looking at a new board. It is a new board in the next meeting. And what might that look like to coordinate that work of goal development for the new board? Because again, you do have a lot of fantastic work that has been done in multiple areas. So bringing that together, having them support you, and then moving forward as a new board is a good strategy if they're able to do that and you're comfortable with the people who can do that work with you. So I think that's a good way that we can, again, get this information out, see what they have to offer. And again, you'll be making the decisions as the new board, basically reviewing their proposals to determine, do you want to move forward with what they're offering, or do part of this and part of that, so we can get all that information back to you.
So this is customizable in the sense that we could, maybe we don't ultimately like the search firm and the board development process that they're offering, but maybe we want to do, we really liked one other board development process and one search firm, so if we can do that.
Could happen that
Okay,
way.
perfect, okay.
It sounds like I would be in agreement with that.
Okay, so everyone's on.
Yep.
I think we've got some good direction, so appreciate that.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on to 14, resolutions for first reading, we have none. 15, resolutions for immediate action. We have item A, Resolution 2024-2537, Antioch Charter Academy 2 Charter Petition Renewal. And I just want to say thank you to our Antioch Charter Academy 2 staff, family, and community who have hung around for this board meeting.
Ready for the motion?
I'll go ahead and share again. At the last meeting, the Antioch Charter Academy did come and provide a large presentation, a lot of support. The board was very reflective in their process, and so today, you're asked to approve the actual resolution confirming the continuation.
Great, yeah, so this was kind of before us before, so unless there's anything new that came up, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right,
I will second.
great, so it's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed say no, and the motion passes.
Right.
4 hours for 10 seconds. Okay, go.
Great. Moving on to 15B, Resolution 2024-2541, authorizing provisional internship permit.
Yes, this just happens to be for two individuals obtaining the internship permit while they're continuing to develop their credential and through programs.
Great. So unless there's any questions.
I guess the last
Trustee Lewis,
time.
yeah?
Go for it. Go for it.
For public consumption, we want to make sure that these teachers are teaching in a field closely related to their credential.
Yeah, these are actually special education teachers, so they're obtaining their special education certification through programs designed for special education teachers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Great. So unless there's any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Move approval.
Great. So it's been properly motioned. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. So it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing provisional internship permit. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and the motion passes. Moving on to 16, resolutions for second reading and action. There are none. 17, board policies for first reading. We have 3 policies here. These are coming before us for the first time. Are there any comments on any of these 3 resolutions? We have new board policy 0415.1, racial equity, revised board policy 4033, lactation accommodation, and revised board policy 4218.1, dismissal, suspension, and disciplinary action. So any questions on any of these 3? Great.
I'll make it, okay.
Yeah, Trustee Heck?
No, nothing.
Great. So we'll have these come before us next time for second reading and action. 18, board policies for second reading and action. We have items A through G. These were brought to us before, so we have seen these. So this is now our second time here to approve them. Is there any comments or questions on any of these items A through G? Great. Otherwise, we can take these all together, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So I'll entertain a motion to approve items A through G.
I move approval of items A through G.
Second?
Great. So it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the board policies A through G as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no, and the motion passes. 19, information items for general information. So these are items A through D are administrative rule changes related to the board bylaws and policies that were recently approved. Any questions on those administrative rule changes? Great. Otherwise, we'll move on. 20, future agenda items from board members. I'm not sure if Trustee Lewis, you have anything to like to see in the future. I know you.
I think sleep. No, I'm joking. No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Vice President Rocha,
No, I think we have enough on our plate. Leave it alone.
Trustee Lathan,
No.
and Trustee Heck.
Yep.
Great. Then 21, additional comments which exceeded the first 30-minute session limit. We have none. and 22 reports and comments from board members. Do you want to start us off, Trustee Lewis?
Sure. So I don't know if it came clear through the reading. I will be offering a couple scholarships to teachers, staff, and students. And so if it's appropriate, I'd like to do that at the end of the year, maybe at graduation or something like that. And so, yeah. I mean, I'm still going to continue to do the work and be in the community. And this is the section where we talk about what we've done.
Yeah.
It's been a busy time. I've been teaching a bunch, and that's where a lot of my focus has been. So, yeah, that's it. So thank you all for having me for these last 4 years.
Vice President Rocha?
Nothing for today.
Trustee Lathan?
Just want to make sure which one are we on?
We're on the reports and comments relative to memberships of the organization. Usually we're just general comments.
All right. I did quite a few school visits, so I want to give a shout out to Kimball, Bidwell, Marsh, and Jack London Elementary, and M&O Grant. And what I saw at the elementary schools definitely mimicked what Deb Malin talked about today in the literacy reading plan in the K2 or K3 classroom, so that was nice to see. Also, I went to a SPED parent meeting yesterday at Black Diamond Middle School. It was, what I learned was it was one of the first meetings we've had with parents around special education, and we had someone present the technical stuff, like, like timelines when someone requests an IEP, or who do they talk to if they have questions about services. So that was nice, and parents had lots of questions, really good questions about our services and their commitment to continue engaging with us because they want us to have a really strong program. Parents are aware of surrounding programs in other districts. They were comparing us, but what I love is that they didn't give up on us. They're like, we want this to be an amazing experience for students with disabilities in all of our schools, so that was really nice to hear. So thanks to the staff for putting that on. And I'll talk to Ms. Ibarra later, because you always have suggestions for how to make it even stronger. As a participant, I had some ideas. So, but I am grateful for the opportunity to attend that meeting yesterday.
Trustee Hack?
It's been fun. Six decades, I guess it is, since I entered this district. I'm still here. And next board meeting, I may be out there watching you. It's fun.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think, I guess I'll end my comments kind of, again, just emphasizing, I think, how important the role of school boards are and how, I think, underappreciated they can often be. I know that there's a lot of work and a lot of time spent. Some of the quick facts that I've been trying to build together to get people to understand just how important this work is, even if you look at like our annual operating budget, our annual budget, is like $315 million. The city's annual budget is $227 million. We have a larger budget than the city of Antioch. If you look, and if you look at the amount of people that participate in school board elections, we see significant drop-offs. People vote for president about 70% turnout, but when it comes to school boards, it gets as low as like 10 to 5%. That means that if you're distributing those votes out to these 4-year terms that we serve, $315 million over 4 terms is $1 billion. That means each of those votes was worth about, in our different areas here, each vote's worth about $80,000. And so many people are just leaving that on the table. So I just say that to emphasize that, we make a lot of really important decisions here. And over the past 4 years, Trustee Lewis, Trustee Hack, you all helped make really, really important, very valuable decisions. And, again, very often so overlooked, but there's a lot of power, there's a lot of trust, there's a lot of responsibility to the community there. And so, again, appreciate the time that you all served here on the board.
Trustee Hernandez, can I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
2, congratulations on winning re-election. That's firstly. And I feel kind of left 4, I think we're at 4 books now.
Oh, I did. I had a bunch of traffic, so I didn't get the chance to stop home. Headed straight here, but yeah, I'm really racking up a lot of book debt to everybody here.
I will come and collect.
Oh, yeah, if you can read a book, I'll come.
Right.
For sure. All right. Lastly, 23 future meetings. So our next meeting is on December 18th, 2024. So we'll be welcoming a new board. So, would encourage people to come and for you all to come and welcome the new board and kind of, encourage that continuity of support in the community. I think that would be really great if you all have time. And then our next meeting after that is January 29th, 2025. Lastly, we have adjournment. Vice President Rocha, do you want to maybe give some context? I think that would
No, you
be.
go ahead. No, I just wanted you not to forget.
Okay, yeah.
Phyllis James.
Yeah, so as we heard, Principal Phyllis James, who was at Black Diamond Middle School before she retired, passed away. And I think it would be great to close out the meeting in her honor.
Thank you.
So do you want to make that motion, Vice
I
President?
move approval of honoring Phyllis James, our loss of her. Bet her power and knowledge will go on with all those students that she was able to take care of all those years that she was here. And may she rest in peace.
Great. So it's been properly moved in second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. And the motion passes. See everybody on December 18th.